Hi everyone, it's Suzanne here. Thanks for joining me today. Very recently, Amira, who is Amira in Oz, approached me about doing a small art journal swap. And I've never done art journaling before, but I was very happy to join Amira in this little project. So Amira and I are both design team members for Auntie Vera from Auntie Vera Scrap and Craft. So we sent each other some die cuts, and I've chosen the pineapple as my first prompt for the art journal. So when this art journal is filled, I will be sending it to Amira, and she's going to be doing the same with the one she's doing for me. So first thing is I lay down some Liquitex matte gel medium to put the tissue paper down as my base. So matte gel medium is a fantastic way to prepare a surface that you're going to use other mediums on. So you can paint on top of it, use all kinds of pens, so artist pit pens and things like that. You will see me put a tear in the paper, so when you put it down you should dry the bottom layer before you do the top, and I didn't do that. Got a bit slap happy and ripped a hole in the page, but it's all good because I see there's the little hole. I just cut off a small piece and glue it over the top in the same pattern, and when the page is finished you can't even notice that it's there, thankfully. So yeah, just be careful when you're doing that, especially with tissue paper, because it's pretty fragile stuff. But anyway, it's all good. Make sure it's all glued down, okay? And make sure it's dry before you move on to anything else. So you can probably see there on the side I've got a bit of a palette with some acrylic paint. So it's just very cheap Craft paint, which I have watered down because I want the paint on top to be translucent. I don't want it to hide that background paper. So I make sure that my brush is wet, so I make sure that I wet the brush and put water in the paint. Okay, so I've used 3 colours from Craft: Dusty Pink. My next one I use is Spearmint. That's the bluey colour. There, I'm making sure my paintbrush is wet, and then I pop down the paint in no particular place. I just plop it down wherever, and then I use the mango, I think. Yeah, well, that's the only other colour I use, so of course that's what I do. Again, wetting the brush before I put it down. So the matte gel medium will also allow you, if you think you've got too much paint there, it'll allow you to wipe some of that off as well. So it's really handy, especially for me as I'm a beginner at this, so it kind of allows you to fix up some boo-boos. Alright, the next thing I use are some Ranger Archival inks. These are Wendy Vici ones. I use that one, Sunflower. Very hard to see it. It was a great match for the mango paint. If you could see the page in person, you can actually see it was a kind of a wavy thing. So those stamps are just cheap rubber stamps from, I think, Riot Art and Craft. I got them. So to do art journaling and stuff, you don't need expensive products. So these are just cheap stamps. You can use like lid lids off different things. People use bubble wrap, pop paint on it, and press it down on the page, and it all kind of makes great texture on your background. Here I'm using some more Kaisercraft paint, the black, and I just am making some marks on the page. Just adds interest and some more texture to the page. So yeah, so you really can do it with all different kinds of things. Doesn't have to be fancy supplies from a craft store at all. Alright, so the next thing I do is add some gesso. I watered down some gesso to do some like splatters of paint. So if you've watched any videos with people who are art journaling, this is a really popular thing to do, and it's like just such an effective way to add interest and texture to the background. So just mix. You can do it with white paint, but I'm using watered down gesso, and dry it with your heat gun before you move on. So after this, I put this aside, and I'm going to use my I got a gel press, just a small one. I wish I had gotten a bigger one. I got this 5x7, which is great, but I wish I had gotten a bigger one. So I'm going to use a few different paints. So I got 3 Hampton Art colours. I got Yummy Yellow, Outrageous Orange, and Amiable Aqua. I also use some Anita's Metallic Gold and some Chromacryl Light Green. Put them all down on the jelly plate at the same time. Use my soft roller to blend them a bit. So I want them to blend but not mix, if that makes any sense at all. And then I'm just pressing the watermelon, for goodness sake, pineapple down into the paint and making sure it's completely covered, and there it is. I could have just painted it with a paintbrush, I suppose, but you just sort of get that mix as good as it does off the jelly plate, and it's just good fun anyway. Great fun. I've had some really good fun using it since I got it. So sticking down the pineapple with more matte gel medium and making sure it's dry before I move on to the next thing. And the next thing I'm doing is adding my it's kind of a sentiment, I suppose. I'm not sure, but what I've done is die cut a whole lot of letters, so it took me quite a while to get this done. And it says, be a pineapple, stand tall, wear a crown, and be sweet on the inside. So when I die cut letters to add as sentiments, the easiest way to keep them all under control, I've found, is to put them down on some low-tack masking tape, and you can line them all up beautifully and stick them down. That way it's just so much easier to keep them all exactly how you want them if they're stuck down on that tape. So I always use that little trick. I've seen someone doing it on YouTube, and I'm sorry I don't remember who that was. But yeah, it is a fantastic trick to use. So there, I skipped through some of that, so you don't need to watch me do that. And I also die cut a gold crown there and pop that in a little space there next to the part that says wear a crown. And again, I use that gel medium to stick it down. That's what I stuck all the letters down with as well. I just use it for everything. It's fantastic. I've never had a problem with anything coming up. Also, what you didn't see me do is go around all the edges with that sunflower archival ink, and here's just some stills for you to look at so you can see the splatters really well there. And that's my first art journal page for the swap with Amira. Thank you for watching. Bye.